Hey everybody, I'm CJ, and the title pretty much says it all. Progressive politics is partially a reform program for unprosecuted sex offenders. Because there is a trade off. At least in the comic book industry, SJWs accept known, or at least suspected, sex offenders into their ranks in order to swell their numbers. Because doing that allows them to appear more numerous and more influential than they really should be. The bargain is that when it comes to sex offenses, all men are presumed guilty until proven innocent before a jury of their enemies. And so, because of that, these men in comics have to do idiotic things like promise not to rape anybody and denounce white supremacy and all that. Now, most people don't do that. Most people don't have to do that. Most people know that you're not supposed to rape other people. You're not supposed to discriminate against others because of their sex or their race or their sexual preferences or whatever. Most people don't have to make public pledges like that because for them, it kind of goes without saying that you shouldn't do those things. But those assumptions don't necessarily apply in the SJW comic book industry, because assuming that nobody is an unprosecuted sex offender in the comic book industry is just a sucker's bet. So the SJWs welcome these unprosecuted sex offenders into their ranks, but the price that the unprosecuted have to pay is making insane promises to not commit sex crimes. And I gotta say, it's an equitable trade as these things go. The SJWs get to appear more numerous than they actually are, while a bunch of probable sex offenders get cover. Now, that system works, at least inside the comic book industry, because the comic book industry is so gatekept, so controlled, and so small. But SJWs secretly believe, and for some of them it's really not so secret, but they secretly believe that all men are racists, rapists, KKK members, and all that stuff. Now, as all that's going on, it's like nobody remembers that the sex offenders that I was just talking about are eager to push the attention onto anything and anyone as long as it's not their sex offenses. Because, seriously, how many times do you need to read a story about so and so male feminist being accused of all kinds of bad behavior before you start noticing a trend? So, when SJWs dogpile on somebody, they can usually count on the sex offenders among them to help because those sex offenders want to stay in everybody's good books for as long as possible. Now, I'll give the SJWs some credit here. They would probably love to name and shame all of the touchers in their ranks, but doing that is fraught with peril because they're probably not eager to bring up the fact that they knowingly associate with all these weirdos and perverts. Don't get me wrong. The SJWs, they just can't wait to eject all the creeps from their ranks, but the minute they do that, they're probably looking at losing something like 25% of their members, if not more. Very few groups can afford to lose 25% of their members overnight. SJWs may be stupid, but they're not dumb. So there's really no choice but to cut the worst offenders out, and that only one at a time, so that the losses won't be as visible the next time that they need to launch a Twitter mob against somebody. Now, is it really such a big surprise that the comic book industry can't really be called an industry anymore? The people making comics hate comics, and they hate each other. Now, I can't help thinking that this is one reason why SJWs get so pissed off when normies are unimpressed over their left-wing virtue signaling, because I think in the mind of the average SJW, it's like, look, I have to bite my tongue 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I can't say what I really want to say. I get paid something like $25,000 per year, and I live in New York, and everybody knows that half of my coworkers are freaks and perverts. Can't you at least give me the social currency of doing what I believe to be the right thing? No, we can't give them the social currency, but I think I understand where they're coming from a little bit. Anyway, I'm CJ, and that's that. Please comment, like, subscribe, and share. Doing those things really helps me out. Also, I'm on Twitter at Cole Loves Comics.